5 o'clock. I'll go ahead and call us to order. Ms. Branham, did we notify the media?
We did.
Thank you. And I do declare that we have a quorum with 5 of 7 board members present, and we will need approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All those in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All right, and now I'll turn it over to Dr. Dillon.
Okay, so as requested, this is just a work session around the Lawrence Middle, Sanders Middle realignment proposal that we brought up last month. A proposal, I won't go back through it again, but you have that in this green folder. Each one of the documents are going to be numbered on the top right, so I'll be able to reference which page. So document 1, the realignment proposal, that is in there for you to kind of reference to. Document 2 is the realignment proposal that I shared out in our kind of community meetings and whenever we had different meetings with teachers. And so that was a little bit different than the actual proposal that's there. So the proposal that we did put forth was to go ahead and move Lawrence Middle into a 7th, 8th grade system, Sanders to a 6th grade system with the probability of adding 5th grade the following year for the 26-27 school year. With that, we did do some surveys and received some information. So I'm just going to share with you what we have received over the last month. Document 3 is the copies of all surveys and questions that were proposed on the survey that was sent out to the group of impacted families. So that would have been the families that are currently 6th, 7th, also 5th at the schools. So that would have been a directly impact questionnaire for them. And then that was also shared last week with the broader community to be able to get feedback from others also. So we have that broken down in our next few documents that we'll share. And I'm going to flip through just so I can talk. So we have the proposal there. So in your,
Hey, Mr. Carpenter.
hey, Mr. Carpenter. In that top green folder, Mr. Carpenter, we're on section 4. In that document section there. And this is the list of survey responses. This is a combination of all responses, and you can see that we received 348 responses on this document, and this is the same questions that are referenced in document 3. So this is actually the results from this survey.
How many, is this separate from the survey that went out Friday?
This is the survey that went out Friday. So this is a combination. This is the combination survey. The next 2 documents are broken down.
Okay.
Yep. So on this document, you'll see.
So are you saying all the responses were mailed in?
No. So I've got several different responses. This is a survey response. And so this survey response was sent out via internet, email, and also Facebook, where people could link in and complete the survey online. So this is that survey here. We'll get to the mailed in ones in a minute. And so, but I have some mailed in, kind of input also. So we'll go through all that. So in this document, you'll see, and we'll just kind of go through the survey. And so this is the combination of all directly impacted parents, families, and also the community. So all 348 people that responded to this survey is in one snapshot on the colored survey responses. So you can see that we had 348 responses. The grade realignment, 1 being a no, I'm not in favor of, a 5 being yes, I'm fully supportive of, and then you can see the 2 3s and 4s in there too. So the grade realignment support is 176 as in a 5, but whenever you add 3, 4, and 5 together, or at least 4 and 5 together, you'd be at 206 compared to a 88 if you add 1 and 2s together. And that's that grade realignment question. It says, I support the plan to transition Sanders campus into the dedicated 6th grade school and Lawrence Middle to a dedicated 7th, 8th grade junior high. So that was the responses there for all 348. The next question was future expansion. Whenever you're looking at the I'm in favor of proposal to expand Sanders campus to include 5th grade for the future, the 27-28, you can see that that is 90 to 171, or if you look at that ones and twos, that would be 111 to 193. So basically, you're getting a third to 2/3 in most of our survey responses there. School identity, support the proposed name change to Sanders Intermediate and Lawrence Junior High. You can see that's basically following the same pattern of a third to 2/3 non-support versus support. Montessori continuity. This is a little bit different, but not really that far off. Montessori continuity, I believe the plan to maintain Montessori strategies and philosophy for the 6th grade at Sanders is beneficial for the student development. So there again, you have around 110 to 200. Then you, the question about honors transition. I support the transition of 7th and 8th grade courses to Lawrence to the honors level. Opportunities at the junior high setting, that one is 229 to 48, or if you look at 50 to 250, 260-ish. Then the course acceleration information there, you can see that I agree this realignment will successfully allow for more sections of accelerated math and ELA. You can see that that also is an agreement there. The agreement for STEM and arts, I'm satisfied that the students will continue to have STEM arts-based clubs under this new configuration, 237 or 269 to 34, 35. Athletic access, knowing that the students would not have a football team at Sanders participating through intramural, city or local, that's 67 to 207 or 69 to 235. Transportation, you can see there also with 64-ish to 237 to see those results. Enrollment relief, that the value, the fact that the reconfiguration provides immediate enrollment relief for Lawrence Elementary, Ford Elementary, and E.B. Morris School. You can see that that's 76 to 238. Facility investment, I believe the $5 million investment in the upcoming renovations to Sanders campus justify the realignment. You can see that that is also basically the third to 2/3. Teacher placement, so you run into the 75-ish to 200 again, getting close to that one looks more of a quarter to 75%. And then you end up with class size section also being very favorable for the 4s and 5s, being around 68%, 67% to the 20%. The following, the system that we utilize automatically provides an AI summary for all the comments, and so we went ahead and included the AI generated summary based on the comments, and then the following several pages you have the comments that were provided by the survey recipients there. So, all right, questions on document 4? All right, so document 5 and 6 very much follow the same mindset, but that is, we didn't do the charts on that one, but you can kind of see the same information. You can see the first page of 5 and 6 is the roles that the first document 5 would be the ones that were directly impacted for the information for the that was sent out to the current middle school parents and also the current 5th grade parents. Document 6 was opened up to the community, and you can see the count. And so if you add those together, you'll end up what document 4 is. So document 5 is a standalone document, document 6 is a standalone document, document 4 combines both of these together. Whenever you're looking at those informations, you can see that whenever Faye was able to tally this for us, because this came out of a spreadsheet versus getting the actual pictures from the system, she had to do a little bit more calculating on this. So you can see the number of fives, the number of points associated to each one, and the percentage of 3 to 5, or you can kind of see those numbers of there and how those related to that. The levels of agreement, you can see that that information is there, and also the summary that's provided to each one of those. Document 6 shows the same thing. It's a little bit longer because it has a little bit more data in it, but you can kind of see the same information there. Very much mirrored the document 4 and the basically the 30, a third to 67% kind of in favor of the realignment versus not in favor of the realignment. So I'll give
Say
you
that, say that number again.
33% to 67%, basically a third to two-thirds,
Oh, you say what you said over again.
in favor of realignment versus not.
How many?
A third not in favor of realignment, two-thirds in favor of realignment.
And that's from your research,
That's just from this survey,
from the survey.
And so,
Can you show us that survey and all those responses? Because that's what I need to see for you to convince me of that.
yes. Somebody grab my computer off my desk.
Is that what this is though?
That is what this is, yes.
Because I'm
Oh, you want to see the individual response from the weekend survey,
yes.
and so you know which one of these comments came out of the weekend survey?
Right.
Okay, yeah. Because these are all just lumped together, right? These are all the surveys.
On this document, all the data is lumped together.
Yeah.
On document 5 and 6, that is not, that's directly impacted and community impacted.
But these two don't include the comment section. It's just your AI summary.
But this would be all comments.
The reason I asked that, with document 11, you only got, what, 142 responses here?
I haven't gone through document 11 yet, but I'll get there.
Okay.
Okay. Any questions about 4, 5, and 6? All right, y'all received an email from Ms. Miller questioning one of the questions about, that was on the survey.
that's what I'm questioning.
Yeah.
Because that committee that sent out these letters, so they sent you 400 letters. So how do you come up with 142?
The only ones that were received in the USPS mail is 140, so, or 150.
That's impossible.
So,
That is impossible, and you
well,
know it is.
I can tell you Ms. Geary is the one that opened every single one of those letters, and,
So-
it's
so-
calculated those, and they've been in this stack at the same time. I can't tell you what happened with the other.
It's impossible.
300,
That's impossible.
250. Okay. I can only tell you, why would I hide 250 whenever I'm showing you 100?
Because you want to win, that's why.
There's no alternative motive on hiding any of these documents.
Well, you should have 400 documents.
Well, maybe
Why do you think
250
there's 400
didn't get
more?
one.
Because the committee sent out 400 and they collected them and sent them in person.
Which committee?
The committee who did that
There's a committee that did what?
sent these letters out.
So there was a
I think
different
it's a part of
organization.
like the Alumni Association
Yeah.
for
That's what's
Sanders
around. That's what we
and
have
some
received today.
other, community members that, you know, that aren't gonna take an online survey or maybe not have access to an online survey. So I think this may have been their way of sharing what their
So
thoughts are.
based on
So-
mail, based on whatever, I can tell you that we received another 15 this morning, another probably 20 this afternoon, and those were calculated into the numbers before we came in. So I can tell you that we have only received 150. If there's another 250 coming, they'll be here, but they are not here yet.
How did you compile the letters in with your survey
I have
responses?
not, it's just information that I want to share with y'all.
Okay.
All right,
It's just amazing how 400 letters can't get here, but you can send out a survey Friday afternoon to get response from over 300 people in less than 24 hours.
I can show
That
you that.
don't make no sense.
I don't know how.
Because you fixing the documents.
I do not appreciate being accused of
You don't
lying.
have to, I'm telling you, I don't like appreciate what you're doing either.
Well, I do not appreciate being considered a liar and trying to.
Well, and I don't appreciate you lying to us.
Has not, and I will not, and I have not.
I don't appreciate you lying to us.
And I
But I'm
have
gonna state, just like you state, I'm gonna state what I believe, and I believe you're not being fair about what you received.
All right, well, I can tell you that that is fair. I didn't even open the documents, and those are the ones that we have received versus
Well, you
USPS.
should have opened the document since they was addressed to you.
And as I said, I had my secretary with them, so.
That's it.
Well, one thing I do want to address that I was somewhat disheartened by was that we actually had in our minutes from our last meeting to send out that survey. And it was disheartening that it wasn't sent out until the Friday before the meeting. Because
And it was sent out, if you look at document 5, you can see that it was actually sent out, to the smaller group that was the impacted families on March 30th. And so that was actually sent out to them because we wanted a specific information from the parents that had the kids in the system in those, grade levels that would be directly impacted. Then we also wanted to open it up for other feedback. And yes, that did go out last Thursday or Friday.
it went out
So-
Friday at 11:25.
Okay.
So why did we wait so late to send that one out?
As I have mentioned to the board, I was out Monday, Tuesday, and part of Wednesday because of my dad being in the hospital, and I am sorry that that did not happen earlier in the week. Like I said, the first survey went out March 30th, which was a week after the first survey. So you'll also see in your packet, document 12, y'all had some questions about what the, honors level and the additional courses, would look like in, the system. So you have the, GT plan, which is middle school focused. You can see the information there that has been pulled together by teaching and learning. And also on the back of that page, you'll see the high school credit opportunities, that we are allowed to teach. We're actually allowed to teach any high school level course except PE
this somewhat looks like the Montessori component would be replaced by honors.
That is what the original, proposal was for seventh and eighth grade, was to, dissolve Montessori at the junior high to, then provide the high school level credit courses as the more opportunities. That was the original plan, so that was why we provided this, to base on the original plan.
But Montessori really isn't about honors and
Correct.
GT.
Correct. And some of these courses you can see are not necessarily honors level courses, but more high school level opportunities that if we could offer a music free or science, more private legal way, not necessarily all honors level, leaning courses, but also opportunities for students to take, high school level courses at the middle school level without being honors level students.
Are any of these high school level courses offered at Hickory Tavern and Gray Court at this time? Because they don't have
At all of our
Montessori.
schools, we currently have, geometry, we have English one, we offered Spanish one in the past, I don't think we're offering that anywhere now. We have some computer science offering, that's high school level courses, and it's, I think it's the Discovery Computer Science right now. We have offered, Project Lead the Way at Hickory Tavern and Lawrence Middle in the past, because we had a teacher that was split between those two that was able to teach that. But the other ones are not, currently being, taught anywhere. But we have in the past always tried to offer the same thing at all, for middle schools, whenever it's possible. Document 13, shows the question came up was where else do they offer this type of, situation? You can see page 1 of document 13, is any type of configuration of sixth grade only, fifth, sixth, or 4, 5, 6. You can see there also included their overall rating for the last report card. On the page 2, you can see the, districts and the schools that have a current junior high setting and their overall, ratings. So I know there's been a lot of conversation about the realignment. There's also been a lot of conversation around Montessori. You know, the Montessori is not necessarily, dependent upon, the realignment. So if there is conversation, and I know the public, participation coming is more Montessori focused as we move forward. But the, the conversation and the proposal that we'll put on, for, the recommendation is to realign the schools. What questions?
Well, I'm just reading through all the comments, so it's a lot of information, so.
Mhm. The comments on page 7 is very interesting. A timeline and planning delay implementation into the 2027-2028 school year to allow for more planning, preparation, and a smoother transition for both teachers and students. The current timeline for the 2026-2027 school year is considered rushed and has caused distrust among staff.
that's kind of taking everybody's comments and kind of collapsing that, so that is what that's, the comment.
And that's pretty interesting then.
You know, and that's one of the things that, you know, as we move forward, is that yes, go ahead and realign now, and go ahead and make that happen for the 26-27 school year. Is that something we need to consider that we push off to the 27-28 school year and go ahead and say that that will happen then? Or is it a no and we're not doing anything? So, my team and I, you know, feel very strongly of what needs to happen, and that's the proposal that we put forward, but we're also ready for a decision so that we can do the work that has to be done. So whatever the board decides, we'll go with and go for it, so.
Well, that's very interesting.
What information is available about how this will impact our students academically?
That's why I also included the information on the report card weightings. You can see which is the last document on page 13, or document 13, where you can see all those that are either fifth, sixth, or 4, 5, 6. All of those are average or above schools, except the one, so that has been proven that it is a feasible and also productive way of providing education for our students.
So in other words.
Not sure. Go ahead.
So in other words, this is not much different than what we already have here.
So,
What's going on in the district?
correct.
So, we're in this game.
Doesn't mean we'll make gains, that we'll make gains, but we're also, something else I have not mentioned in this as part of the realignment came through, the conversations we've had about our facility needs. And with our facility needs, this changing the realignment will then save us close to $10 million in the additions not needed at Ford, EB, and Lawrence Elementary as we go forward, looking at or needing a referendum as we move forward. And so if we're going to utilize our taxpayer money appropriately, I think we need to also consider using our facilities appropriately. And since we've just added on at Sanders, no, we don't want to close Sanders, but we want to use it in the most appropriate way. And doing that, we could fill up a school at Lawrence Middle by putting 2 full grade levels in city at Sanders. That would fill that school up, and it would relieve the space needed at those other 3 schools as we move forward. So that too is another reason, trying not to tie this to just the restructuring of the district for the referendum needed, but also that is a huge need that would be utilizing our taxpayer money and facilities in a better and more appropriate way.
I think that we may be putting too many things into one particular decision, because the savings that you mentioned, it's not relevant if the referendum doesn't pass. The board hasn't even voted to put a referendum out
So
there
if
yet,
the referendum doesn't pass, it'll be more pertinent that this happens, because that'll be 3 schools that we would not be stuck with not having space for kids. So it's more pertinent that we actually do it if the referendum doesn't pass, because whenever you have no money to build on, then you have 3 schools that need space that can't have space, but you have another school that has the space that you're not utilizing. And so to me, this is more pertinent if the funding, 1, we're not asking for as much on a referendum, but 2, we're also utilizing the space in a better way.
We don't have 3 schools that don't have space. You told us in the meeting last time, because you transferred the kids from Sunday there, their number was weaker, which means they have no space. That's what you said.
So Sanders has more space because there are kids that have, and parents have chosen to put in a special request to go to Lawrence Middle. So of the 70 students that are at Lawrence Middle that have special requests, 50 of those are zoned for Sanders. Of process of Josh leaving and Jonathan taking over, the understanding was, put forth by Josh that Montessori would no longer be offered at Sanders, and through that process, we're down to 18 students in Montessori at Sanders. And so the majority of those, did transfer whenever they thought they were losing a program. And so whenever we're looking at now that there are 35 kids in, 5th grade Montessori to be rolling up, there is 4 sections of Montessori at, Lawrence Middle, 1 section of Montessori at Sanders. That is something that is very feasible, that could be offered all at Lawrence Middle and not have Sanders Montessori at all. So that is another component that we're looking at based on numbers and also class size. The conversation has also happened of just make all those 50 kids go back to their home school. So if that is the direction of the board, that you want me to refuse everybody's special permission and make them go back to their home school, and that they have been 5th, 6th grade at one school and they're going to go do 7th, 8th at another, that is the direction of the board, and I would not like it, but I would do it. That is something that's not right for kids to have to be moved, and I would think we would lose a lot of students to either homeschool or also private school if that decision was made. Also with the, we could deny special permission going forward, but special permission has also been provided to our parents, our employees that have students in the district. For some of that is flexibility based on where they are zoned. We have some kids coming in from Graycourt to do Montessori at Lawrence Middle because we don't offer middle school Montessori at Graycourt. So there are many different options that are out there to require those students to go back to their home school, but I don't know that that's feasible.
So how many students would be included if you did 5th and 6th? Because this original document in your original proposal was only 6th grade.
So for the number of students that would be rolling into Sanders as a 6th grade would be 175 with 185 5th graders. So that would be a little over 350 students that would be utilizing Sanders for the whenever it was a 5th, 6th grade center. And you have a few more than that at Lawrence Middle currently based on enrollment, and I think that's about 20 more. So.
And say that number one more time, 5th and 6th grade totals.
5th and 6th grade total would be 350.
What was the, 5th grade number?
350 is 184, 6th grade is 175. Whenever you take out some special ed kids that would need to be.
Now see, on your sheet here, it says 6th graders is 184 and Lawrence Middle is 175 for 7th graders.
Okay, so.
But your sheet says 184 for 6th graders.
Okay, so that's current 5th, not next year's 5th. Okay, so that is, it was almost identical with grade levels. So whenever you look at a 184, you're looking at 360 kids. I have that written down somewhere. Anticipated numbers, whenever we ran the numbers at Sanders, they're looking at 100, not Lawrence Middle, their Montessori numbers were running about 105. And so when you divide that by 4 teachers, that's 25, 26 per classroom.
Okay.
still reading.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of comments. So I know one of the biggest concerns, I think, from specifically the Sanders community, and I think the letters that regardless of quantity, still even 150 is a lot, that those letters speak to is their concern over losing their identity as Sanders. And we are such a small town anyway, in such a small district and community. I do think those types of concerns should be taken into account as well. So is there anything that you would like to share in response to that piece of it?
Sure, and I know that Sanders community has a very strong tie to, that being the, old high school. But whenever we're looking at, we're not trying to take an identity away, we're trying to put more students through that school. So it would be more students, having experienced that school, trusting that school to do, what's, right for their kids, and not trying to shut it down. We're trying to make it, more of a used school and trying to put all 5th and 6th grade students back through that school like it was several years ago. So it's not a way to try to shut it down. We're not trying to kill the community. We're not trying to do anything. But the down part of that and what it keeps coming back to is that they lose their identity with a football team, or their athletic teams. And that's something that, whichever way you go, whenever that becomes a 5th, 6th grade center, that's the only component of identity that we will be losing at Sanders. Everything else will stay the same, other than athletic things. And whenever we're looking at what's doing right educationally for kids, we still feel strong that what's right for kids and what we can do for our teachers and the structure we'll be able to provide is making 5th, 6th grade center, to where you have, whenever you have 4 very small middle schools in a district, it's very hard to, going back to what you were saying, do we offer the same thing at Hickory Tavern? Do we offer the same thing at Great Court? You can't whenever you have funding issues. You can't go back and offer all these extras that you want to, but whenever you have, larger numbers of students in the same grade level together, it's whenever you can actually be able to provide better opportunities and more opportunities for our kids. And, that's the word I keep coming back to this year is better. What are we doing to make this better for our kids, not making it stay the same, as one of the letters said, we want it to stay the same. I understand we want it to stay the same, but if we stay the same, we'll keep getting the same. And, we're tasked with making it better for our kids.
I don't think, I read all through the letters, I just see one say the same, it just says not co-signing. But, for research purposes, why did they change from 5th and 6th to 4 to 6, 7, 8?
In education, several things, sway back and forth between what's the most popular thing at a time. And so whenever, middle schools were very popular at the time, that swapped back and going away from intermediate schools. And that's the only thing that we have been able to find out in our research of, that it was the thing to do to be able to swap everything back to middle schools at a time. And, go away from, an intermediate and a junior high setting. And so that's why you see that, kind of has stuck across the state, but, that's not what's, the best utilization of our facilities right now.
So, if it was about popularity, it wasn't think people, misconstruing this thing about athletics, okay? It's not about holding on to athletics. It's about eliminating opportunity for some kids. South Carolina High School League only allows you to have so many people in teams. We're gonna eliminate cheerleading for that. Intramural ball is not league ball.
The South Carolina High School.
And you may have people to, may put their kids in other schools simply because of that.
South Carolina High School League does not limit you to one team per sport. So just like Clinton Middle has 2 football teams. So if we run into an issue of where we are eliminating kids' opportunities, that is something else we can look into, is to have a 8th grade team and a 7th grade team and on the same, Lawrence Middle site. So that would not be necessarily eliminating kids' opportunities. Yes, they do limit the number of kids on a team, but they don't limit the number of teams you can have per school.
While I love athletics, I think it's great for all our schools. But ultimately, the focus needs to be academics and what's best for kids.
Well, everybody agree with that. But I mean, we can't just pick and choose what we think we want, what's best for kids. We gotta do that consistently. We in a district that lost $13 million because of an administrative change. That's not for kids. That's against kids.
So I know that this will be brought up in the meeting as a vote. So what else, other questions can we answer or address before the meeting?
I know a lot of the people that I have spoke with are concerned about this happening for this upcoming school year. It's a big decision, and they don't feel like, the summer break is 8 weeks, that it's too short of a time to be able to make these types of decisions. That, if this is something that we are going to do, that, the best decision would be to push it out until the following school year. Okay.
Yep. But so also, Dr. Penland, with all of this realignment, we also want our staff to be efficient. And I have heard so many complaints about students having teachers not credited, substitute. Some have not even had a permanent teacher entire year at one particular school.
I would defer to Ms. Madden on that one, but do we have any long-term subs and full-time positions at any of our schools? So,
What do you mean by that exactly? You mean to get their certification?
No, I'm speaking in terms of PL or FMLA, where you may have a teacher that may be out for an extended period of time.
Okay.
And when that does happen, we do our best to find a certified long-term sub. And legally, those time frames have
Yes.
then they can also get the 6 weeks on top of that, so.
Mhm.
So a lot of our, ladies who have had babies, will take the full 12 weeks, to be with their baby.
And the other partner also is able to take time off. So that does impact instruction, but the thought is if these teachers are able to take care of their families when they return, it will cause less growth.
Wow.
But if you're talking 12 weeks, it does feel like they've been there a long time.
It is, our
Yeah.
students are hurting.
So that'll be,
Mm.
almost two, full, almost a semester.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah,
of our
right.
kids, some of our teachers are able to take.
Yeah, I also heard at Ford, it was about, most of the teachers there
They
at
had several
Ford.
pregnancies.
Yeah, and these kids just, wow.
Well, and I think it also speaks to the fact that we have a young teacher to draw from, and correct me if I'm wrong, they seem, the young ones come, they get established, and then they,
Go back to
somewhere else,
administration.
yeah, or or they leave the education, so it's, retention is, it's a very difficult